Okay, they're picking me up. And hello, everybody! Yeah, glad to be back on the stream. I hope everybody's doing well.
Yes, very much.
How are you doing, my favorite two co-hosts? It's been a long time.
Yes, it very much has been.
1 second. 1 second.
Welcome back, everyone, to the wonderful Dark Souls Roundtable podcast.
The Souls Roundtable. I just made it so generic that it puts enough of the Souls content around. Yeah, it was the best way of just keeping things brief, but short. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What can I say? I just enjoy these sorts of things. 1 second while I just do these things. Just checking, crossing off a couple of my things off my list, and we can start the thing. Because, oh boy, don't we have a lot to talk about today, right?
Ooh, a lot. You're right.
Considering the fact that we've got Dark Souls coming about next, this Elden Ring DLC coming out in a few weeks, which is big news for us.
Very much so.
And the fact is that basically we also have what to do, right?
With the DLC or just in general?
With the DLC. Considering the fact that before we start on things, I want to just talk about a few things. Like, for example, did you hear about the whole thing about how people are saying that over half of the people in the DLC won't be playing the game because they haven't reached a certain somebody we know and love?
Well, I mean, realistically, a few things. A, people just look up, how do I get to the DLC? A. B, you know how Souls players are. A lot of people are just going to leave their summon sides by Moog's boss room.
Oh, that's true.
In order for them, and then they could just like speed blitz him to get into the DLC. Like that's always been a thing with Souls people. So even if they say, oh, only 62% of people have access to it, well, doesn't mean that that's going to be for long.
True.
I wouldn't be surprised if people start charging for their services. I feel like people would also do that, considering that people pay money to buy stuff in Elden Ring, but, you know.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's kind of sad. What happened? What happened to the good old ideas of just trading? You know what I mean?
Well, if you don't make money off of it, that's what people feel nowadays. If you don't make money off of it, it's not good. You know, I'm not trying to sound like a doomer right now, but I think that's just sort of the mentality how people think when it comes to services.
Despite the fact that the Soul series was never that sort of service to begin with, right?
Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be a community and like help each other out from the goodness of your own heart type of thing.
Oh, very true. And unfortunately, we've got just people just trying to get money for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of is sad that we have to basically live with this sort of thing where, oh, you gotta basically... About the whole thing of trying to do the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I made other Souls because, you know, gotta get that thing. But considering the fact that there have been whole lots of news about Elden Ring recently, it's been such good time to be a Souls player, hasn't it?
Agreed.
I very much do agree on that.
Let's face it, we live in a time where we have been blessed with a game that pushed all boundaries and did the impossible.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say, because, you know, From Software's come a long way from where they used to be, and so seeing them rise to where they are is, something that I appreciate at least.
It's considering the fact that our sort of genre used to be a niche at best.
And that's become mainstream.
I wouldn't say mainstream, but we have acknowledged by other things to the point that basically it's hard to deny it. How now? Because let's face it, give it just like 5 years ago, 5, mind you, people would have said, "Oh, Dark Souls is just a niche game that only mad people play." And Dark Souls, you must really hate living.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. And then here we are, 2 years later, and we have the DLC just popping into, right?
Okay, say that again.
We have the DLC coming out soon, 5 days from now, everybody. Well, it'll soon 4 days time on the 19th, and then we get to play it. And I've basically finished Mogan down ages ago.
Yep.
So, yeah, I want to actually... Oh, Doc, do you mind streaming that Yoshi P thing first, actually? I want to actually just get this one out of the way first, because it's funny.
Very well.
And for the record, if anybody wants to watch these down, as soon as I finish this stream, if I can remember it, I will make sure to put the links appropriately down below. Understand? So don't worry your pretty little heads. Because I'm not the sort of person who does that. Heck, good quality too. Good luck.
All right.
Ready?
The new Final Fantasy XIV expansion, not 16, 7.0.
Final Fantasy 14 Dawntrail. Pretty impressive, right? This is my favorite part.
アーリーアクセス、本当はもう1週間前にしたかったんですけど。
So with this early access start date, we actually wanted to start it a week earlier.
Elden Ring DLC。まあ皆さんもエルデンリングのね DLC やりたいでしょうから。
We figured everybody would be interested in playing the Elden Ring DLC.
その代わり1週間です。
I'll give you 1 week.
Oh, that never gets old to me.
ですので1週間どっぷりエルデンリングの DLC 楽しんだらもうそのままサマーバケーションへ突入してください。
So, I'll give you 1 week to enjoy Elden Ring DLC and then just go
Oh boy.
Yeah.
into your summer vacation.
Your end.
Oh no, the video is just frozen.
Oh.
Summer vacation into Dawntrail.
言っときますけど、決して僕がやりたいからずらしたわけじゃないですからね。
Just want to make it clear, it's not because I want to play Elden Ring DLC and then play Dawntrail.
いやもちろん楽しみですけど。
Although I am looking forward to it.
I gotta admit, Yoshi P is a legend if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a little bit of guts for you to basically acknowledge another game's DLC. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it very much does. I do agree with you on that part.
Like, the Elden Ring DLC. Like, he knew that the DLC was going to be the biggest thing, and that if Dawntrail came out the same week that it came out, guess which game's gonna basically get flattened?
Not Elden Ring.
Like, remember Forbidden West, not really, Horizon Forgotten West, as I like to cheekily call it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we don't want a repeat of that, do we?
No, I think people realize that it's just best not to compete with that juggernaut.
Oh, speaking of that juggernaut, hang on, don't play it yet. We got a basically recently announcement of a new trailer. This was released a few weeks ago, but because of circumstances, we weren't able to react close. But I wanted to react to it now, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Because, let's face it, I've been thinking that we should get react to this as well. So, what do you expect for this whole thing, mates?
I expect it to be much darker and to have a much more crazed aesthetic compared to the golden-esque, like yellow bright hues that we found in the original trailer of Elden Ring. And I'm expected to find it more of a darker crimson reds, and also to find, I would say, a lot more, Gothic-esque themes, considering its name, Shadow of the Erdtree.
So much to it. And you, mate? Are you, Knight?
Considering the fact that this Shadowland is considered to be a lot of like the what's it called, like not necessarily outcast of society, but sort of like the underbelly of like, oh, you know, we can't reveal this part of the history because it's too dark. And it's like, whoa, Elden Ring history is already pretty dark as is. So what's going on here that this like, you know, group of people is listed as too too dark to be considered part of the like, you know, story.
And for me,
And it makes you wonder. Oh, continue?
No, go on. You were saying, forgive me.
So it makes me wonder, like, you know, we feel like, oh, Mesmer wasn't really mentioned in the story. Like, you know, in previous DLCs, like with Artorias and stuff, like, Artorias is mentioned heavily in the lore, and then we find out the truth about him. It makes you wonder, like, how much...
That we were basically the ones who defeated Manus, not us, not Artorias.
Uh-huh.
So, but continue.
So it just makes me wonder, how much did Mesmer and all the other individuals that are in this story, I should say, have had an influence on previous events that we might not have known about.
It is true, considering the fact that, then again, this is within, like, America to hide history she deems not beneficial for her, isn't it? This is literally, like, what she is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no surprises that she might hide some, maybe I wouldn't say, perhaps maybe an illegitimate child from the people. If he is that violent, you know what I mean?
So this type of stuff that would happen.
Yeah. It's definitely within her character, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I wonder, like, what sort of monstrosities are going to be in the lands between. Just thinking about it just sends shivers to me timbers. Wouldn't you agree?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. What type of craziness are we going to see?
Well, gentlemen, I believe we can figure that out if we press play.
Ooh, good idea. Press play so we can figure this out. From Software and Bandai Namco. I just love them names.
Mikula the Kind spoke of the beginning. The seduction and the betrayal. An affair from which gold arose.
Ooh, pause it. So, what do we see here? That looks like America, doesn't it? Yeah, America. She pulled something out of a corpse, perhaps? Is that like a portal to the lands between? Or something?
Could probably be that. Or else it could be like grace from a certain somebody that was deceased.
And look at all that bodies. Look, the tree. Whatever that thing is, it's made of bodies.
I don't think that's a tree. I think that's a foot.
I think it's a tree. It could be a man.
Look.
Could be a hill of bodies.
See, look, here's the heel. Here's the front of the foot. And here is the entire leg.
Ugh, kind of grotesque if you think about it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And so too was Shadow born. What followed was a war unseen.
Oh, it was those giant fire things from the trailer, remember?
One that could never
yes.
the sun.
I look like, if you turn it down a little bit, it's too loud.
A purge without grace or
Beautiful.
No, nothing.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful. Those giant things, ugh, they look scary.
Yes.
Ugh, just think about it. Just shit. I just thinking about fighting those things scare me a little bit, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it would be as terrifying as being one who has played Shadow of the Colossus.
I think if I had to choose between that and those, I think I'd prefer the Colossi than that. The Colossus aren't trying to kill you, they only kill you after you attack them.
If you attack them.
Yeah, so they're more passive than anything else. That thing, on the other hand, would kill you just looking at it funny.
Well, to be honest, nothing will get ever over me whenever Gale whooped me, so at this point I'm ready for anything.
Right.
Were you ready for Melina?
Yeah, and then I lost a part of my soul.
We all have lost a part of our soul to her. Considering the fact that she's literally I swear, if she were the hardest boss in the main game, I'm dreading everything in the DLC because it's normally where the DLC... It's fact. It's normally the DLC where we have troublesome fights, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Freya, Lady Maria. Two badass women that basically killed us tons of times. And yet we always say, I swear the Souls community, I think Miyazaki has really broken us, hasn't he?
Yes.
You just now noticed it?
Really, I wanted to just make it for the record.
The tyranny of Mesmer's flame.
Mesmer. That's the highest possible they gave in the trailer. Ugh, this was so scary. You know what I feel like is the scariest part?
And what would that be?
I don't think he's the final boss.
Probably not.
Which is scary if you think about it.
And so kindly Mikula would abandon everything.
Yeah, look, it's like this shot from the trailer, from the still image. That half-moon crescent thingamajig. Beautiful, isn't it?
His golden flesh,
Hold up, hang on, pause
his
it.
blinding strength.
Is that Mikula?
Probably.
Yeah, it kind of looks like him. You know, I sometimes wonder, how did Mikula look from that to whatever he is in the cocoon sometimes?
He was growing in the cocoon, I guess. It's like how, I guess, caterpillars transform a lot, I guess. Mikula could also do the same.
Actually, do you have any spoilers for anybody who doesn't know about the Berserk manga, but at this point, if you don't know about the Berserk manga, you go read it and then come, even though I thought only finish the anime. I've always said that Griffith and Mikula are too similar for their own good. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's a lot of inspiration.
But
Because Griffith is a very, effeminate appearing guy who motivates a lot of people to follow him based on his charisma and just sort of how he carries himself.
Like
Mikula has a lot of that. Yeah, like Mikula. And also considering
Go on.
I was going to say also the fact that, their whole thing is metamorphosizing themselves into a completely different person, like how Mikula was trying to become a god and Griffith become part of the god hand, so what was your point? That was just my thing. I was just thinking about out loud.
I was just thinking about how those two are very similar in a lot of ways. And because
maybe it has a connection.
Maybe.
But I digressed.
Yes.
Even his fate. But we are not deterred. We choose to follow. Will you walk with us?
very soon.
Mhm.
Very
Mhm.
soon.
Oh, very soon indeed. Considering the fact it's only a few days away from now, as I keep saying.
Oh, yes.
And we have.
Now,
And considering the fact that there's been so much going on within the community is almost redundancy fun.
mm-hmm.
So, I gotta ask you guys: do you think we should do like a play the DLC for a little bit and come back to show our thoughts about it?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Fun when it actually releases, yeah. I think that'd be a smart idea.
Yeah, it would be kind of nice, and it would be fun how to see how we each have our experiences.
Uh-huh.
Good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, we have one more thing to talk about, gentlemen, and
Mhm.
that would be the article, which is Praise the Sun. Dark Souls is getting an original manga, and unlike the Elden Ring manga, it's actually a serious horror fantasy story.
So,
An article written by George Marston on the 3rd of June in 2024.
Well, thank goodness it's not basically another comedy manga like Elden Ring was. Because I
Oh, yes.
Because I couldn't imagine. Because I don't want to imagine trying to imagine half-breed Priscilla in a maid outfit like what they did with the Blimmin' Elden Ring DLC, with the Elden Ring manga,
Oh, no.
right?
That would be extremely poor.
Or it would be homelessly bad.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, they ruined one of the best series that was coming out last year and just made it a comedy,
Oof.
right?
Mm-hmm. Well, shall we, gentlemen?
Shall we? This will be the last thing before we cut off. Sure. Take our time.
Mhm.
Enjoy it.
The macabre and murky world of Dark Souls is the setting of a brand new manga titled Dark Souls Redemption, which aims to channel the spooky, scary vibes of the classic fantasy games with an all-new original story. Dark Souls Redemption was announced by a surprise on social media by publisher Yin Press, who also shared a pre-order page for the manga, which is due out in August. And it's a welcome surprise indeed from Software fans who may have been hoping for something different from Elden Ring's manga adaptation, which cranked the game's inherent silliness to 11 for an adventure that put comedy and parodies first.
I'm happy with being funny. I'm happy with being funny, but not in the point that it basically,
Exactly. When it's all just jokes and there's no actual seriousness to it, it loses its merit.
considering the fact that this
Yep.
is not what I expect from Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Continue.
For in the case of Dark Souls Redemption, writer Julian Blondel and artist Shonen will tell the tale of a woman who dives into the brutal, uncompromising world that Dark Souls somewhat mirrors the path followed by players, but with a strange twist that is a perfect fit for the creeping dread that characterizes the atmosphere of the games.
Is that supposed to be
Indeed.
Nito?
I'm not sure, but whatever it is, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, it looks
Oh,
beautiful,
yeah.
but is that? Oh, come on. Do you guys think that's Nito, or do you think that's not Nito?
I don't. It probably
don't
could
think
be
it's-
Nito.
It's very interesting. I don't think it is, but because I feel like if it was Nito, you would see his curved greatsword. But
Exactly.
that's just a me thing. Just like,
It could be an amalgamation made by Nito.
ooh, that could be interesting.
Mm-hmm. No. It's quote doomed by a past long forgotten Rousseau to say what she once held dear. The flame is lit and nameless woman wakes, roused from the tomb by a past she cannot recall. She sets out into a barren, unfamiliar landscape. End quote. Reads the Press description of Dark Souls Redemption. Quote, the protector follows, bound by oath and honor. He safeguards her against the dangers that draw near with the same ferocity he does the secrets of his past. End quote. And it continues,
The grey cinders gather in their tower, cold by the fire to complete their solemn duty. A colossus, incarnate of death, stirs with the bones beneath the scarred grounds, and a nightmare scourge of a bygone era returns to exact its toll. The fate of this land hangs in the balance as their journey unfolds in this original Dark Souls story.
So this story is not like how we play it, but another perspective or something?
Probably.
Eh? That's weird. Let's be facing, that is a very weird idea of doing it.
Yeah. But how canon is it? That's my question.
I don't know why, but it gives me Dark Souls 2 vibes for some reason.
And which is not good. You know, actually, thinking about Dark Souls 2, a while back I went on a Twitter spat with some idiot who basically just was defending Dark Souls 2's AD adaptability mechanic.
Don't engage with them.
Anyway, I'll talk about this afterwards.
The article ends with, even better for fans hungry for the more Dark Souls content, Yen Press is billing this as Dark Souls Redemption Volume 1, presumably indicating at least at the likelihood of a second volume on the horizon.
Is it a manga? Hang on. Oh, yeah, it is a manga.
Probably. And Dark Souls Redemption Volume 1 goes on sale on August 27th.
Might try picking it up. But... well, we've got some big news this year for Souls fans. A new DLC for Elden Ring. Upcoming DLC content for Armored Core 6. By the way, finished it a while back. Love it. I've got my own build.
Well, I probably should get into it. Armored Core is coming out to have DLC.
Well, it's going to be just additional add-on content. I don't think they're going to do full-on DLC like Elden Ring. If you catch me drift. They might. Who knows? Though Miyazaki is thinking of doing like a semi. You know how like we had Armored Core 5 and Armored Core 5 Verdict Days and all that sort of things. The sequel, not so much sequel thing.
Yes.
Miyazaki might do something along those lines. The next game, adding more content and whatnot. And actually, funny enough, before I got on the tangent with the guy I spat with. Funny enough, there was actually an Armored Core anime planned way back. I think when 4 was out. Yeah, they were planning.
Really?
Yeah, they were planning an official Armored Core 4 anime. Didn't get past the development stage apparently, and it just petered out. It only got more attention because Armored Core is literally the hot new mecha game of this season.
Good on you, FromSoft.
Yeah, at least, well, considering the fact that people have been clamming for the Bloodborne anime, considering the fact that a while back I remember of Sekiro anime being in the works, if I remember correctly. And then a Dark Souls anime. I guess we got a manga instead.
Who knows? Maybe down the line this will be adapted into an anime. If it does well.
Maybe not. No, for as long as no one touches Dark Souls 2, I'd be a happy person. Speaking of which, yeah, just for a little tangent, if I may, guys, just for 5 minutes. I basically had a Twitter spat with someone who was defending, basically saying that the adaptability feature is in every game. It is not. The ADP stat was only in Dark Souls 2 because I don't know why.
So the argument that he might be making is not that adaptability is in every game, but there's a way to increase and decrease the amount of iframes you have with different like rings or gear and stuff like that. If that's the argument, not that maybe I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt because in most games there are ways to improve.
Yeah.
Or
True.
It was improve or decrease the amount of iframes you have. So that's the argument of you can always increase, decrease these things through gear and like other things.
But the main argument I always said is that the adaptability, but the main iframes in Dark Souls 2 is pitifully bad. It makes the hitbox larger than they are. And I know that the adaptability does not affect the hitbox, it affects the iframes, but because of the iframes, because of the lower iframes, it makes the hitboxes feel larger. And then when you increase the adaptability, it makes it somewhat closer to how it is to Dark Souls 1.
And also considering the fact that, there's plenty of video evidence to suggest that hitboxes in Dark Souls 2 are not accurate even. So, when you combined weak hitboxes, it was the weak iframes with, the fact that
bad hitboxes.
Like everyone knows Pursuer's stab that will hit you like 3 light years away from another continent. When stuff like that exists, it's kind of hard to really justify it.
And yet Dark Souls 3 actually had the best hitboxes in the Souls series. By far, I will debate you on that any day.
Yeah, I would say Dark Souls 3 is some of the best. I think Elden Ring is also pretty good too overall. But I think overall, I think Elden Ring is also pretty close. I think that's mainly because Elden Ring feels like it's built on Dark Souls 3 engine or like functionality,
which it is. That's fair.
Which it is. So I'm not even mad because you see all those clips about people doing those epic dodges and stuff like that, using weapon arts to duck and dodge, but just by virtue of how it shifts the hurt boxes.
Yeah, because when you do when you basically use the weapon arts that make you go low on the ground, the weapons that are hitting the center body tend to miss it because there's nothing there because the hitboxes are lower down. There's no iframes for that. It's just the hitboxes for the player is somewhere else, which makes it so tight. And even okay, if I was going to say it, Bloodborne might have the second best hitboxes in the game. Not saying
overall, yeah.
Overall, yeah, but there are still moments where there's just basically teleportation grabs, but they don't happen. It doesn't happen all the time that I quickly adapted to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Dark Souls 2, on the other hand, never got the hitboxes down.
Yeah, call it teleportation grabs. I call it using the Force.
Either one works. Either one works, and I'm happy. Let's be fair, gentlemen. It's been happy that things have been going forward for us Souls fans pretty tick-tockingly nicely up ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that we've got nothing to worry about in that sort of front. And with with an Elden Ring, you can stop streaming now.
Alrighty.
Sorry, I should have done that in the beginning. But with the things like what we've got coming around, it's going to be basically good. It's going to basically bring more content to Elden Ring, which is true. There's going to be basically more. What else? There's going to just be a whole lot more things to do, and new weapons. Can't wait to. I think the light greatsword might be my new favorite sword weapon.
The light greatsword, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to just try to get that weapon. And with the fact that right?
Does holy damage. Yeah. Everything's resistant to holy damage.
Yeah. Thankfully, I went for a spell build this time. If I went to every Souls game I play, I normally go for a miracle knight build, a sort of a miracle paladin build. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know what? Go for a spellblade build.
Mm-hmm.
High intelligence, but good to medium sword stats, so I can at least build the Moonlight Greatsword. By the way, love the blade.
It being a frost element's a very interesting taste that they went with.
I think still that frost is the form of Yeah, actually, you're right. It is interesting.
No, I'm not saying I don't like it, but it's just a very interesting take. I mean, maybe in some of the Kingsfield games it's been like that, but in this sort of Souls games, it's never been associated with,
magic. It's always been magic. But I guess maybe because Rani is the Dark Moon and, ice and all that jazz, maybe they just thought it'd be more appropriate to have more of an ice-based effect than
just pure magic effect, yeah.
Kind of makes sense with Rani and her thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you were to think about it aesthetically and also scientifically, usually when it comes to astronomy and such, space is very cold.
That space is very cold.
Makes sense if you think about it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, in a lot of the games, the Moonlight Greatsword is literally some sort of like alien, like space tech or object.
Well, it always
Like considering,
God.
I just find it funny that was at Ludwig. It's like, yeah, look at this thing. It's like the Holy Moonlight Sword sitting here like practically an old one, which just by virtue of the things that it does.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of my time in the game and I spend a lot of my time in the game trying to get that damn rune that supposedly boosts its arcade thing, the arcade rune Ludwig has, but it turns out it doesn't exist in the game.
Even though the guides say it exists.
Yeah, even the guy says it exists. There was that YouTuber who dug around the code. I can't remember his name. He dug around the code and found out that that rune does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
So like either the guy lied or it was misfortune, because I dug into the deepest parts of those ruins just to
chalice
find.
dungeons, yeah.
I love the chalice
Just
dungeon. I'm actually one of the few people that actually enjoy him, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes, I do.
I
know, I'm a madman.
Hey, I mean, whatever gets your blood rocks, I guess.
I think that's one of the reasons I did the chalice dungeons, just to get those damn rocks.
Because they're so limited in the base game. You only get like, what, 1 or 2? If you can count the DLC one.
You only got 1 blood rock in the main game, and then you get a few.
And then 1 in the DLC.
Well, unless you basically spend 60 insight on the damn thing to get it.
Oh yeah. Buy another. No, there's 1 in the fishing hamlet, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, outside of buying it with insight or 60 insight. Oof. You have to literally go spelunking to get others.
Well, it's a good thing I always was the guy who liked playing multiplayer, so it didn't really hurt me that much. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was also the fact that I was always the one who just liked to comb every area.
Mm-hmm.
I miss Bloodborne.
I mean, we can still play it. If y'all want to just do Bloodborne parties, I don't mind.
I know, but you know what I mean.
Like back in its heyday when like everyone was playing it.
And the fact that Sony actually promoted it.
Yeah, Sony just gave up because I think it's like, what game makes a poll? What game do you want to see more of? They deliberately removed Bloodborne from the poll because they knew it unanimously would absolutely win.
I would have loved Bloodborne. I don't know why they spit in the face. Oh, we're releasing merchandises. We've got a new pocket watch, clothes, and books about Bloodborne. That's nice and all, but I want the game, not the code, not the books or the watches and whatnot.
I think they're just ashamed. Personally, I think it goes back to from Demon's Souls, because think about it. Sony could have owned the entire Souls series.
But they didn't, because the original creator of the PlayStation hated Demon's Souls.
Yeah, and thought it was a crap game. And so because of that,
Bandai snapped up the rights to From Software, didn't snap, but they basically hired From to basically create their next game, the Dark Souls series. If Sony was smart, they would have kept From Software on and made the rest of the series.
If Sony kept literally Elden and all the other games would be PlayStation exclusives. Just think about that for a second.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they were just hindsight's 2020, my friend.
Yep. Though I will say though, I think it's for the better. As a result, because I think like with wider audiences, I think it benefits From Software much more than being Sony exclusive, if you ask me.
Exactly.
Because the Demon's Souls remake came out. Yeah, it sold well and it's still selling well, but like because it's still Sony exclusive, I would imagine how well Demon's Souls would have done if
it was ported to the PC as well.
Because Ghost of Tsushima is getting a PC port.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Oh, that's true. But
and also God of War is. I wonder if.
Mm-hmm.
The 2018 God of War is getting
it's already
PC.
It's been on a PC.
It's already on PC. Yeah.
But I'm saying, look how well those games are doing because they were given those treatments.
I think one of the rumors I heard was that Sony lost the source code when they basically bought out Sony, what was that Japanese studio or something? The one that co-produced Bloodborne.
Well, if that's the case, then they need to like basically figure out where the hell they got the source, where they lost the source code, because that's unacceptable.
Well,
I think I remember seeing some Bloodborne news, but I can't remember. Well, that might be for a podcast after we get the Elden Ring DLC next week, because frankly, we still got a big thing about that one coming on.
Oh, yes.
Still, I don't get it. It's like they're allergic to money with this one. Oh, hey, we've got this entire fan base that wants a game on the PC. Nah, we shouldn't port
Sony.
Bloodborne. Because
It's
you know why?
Sony.
Yeah, it's Sony. I know. You know,
again, the only thing I can think of is just embarrassment, and whether they just basically sold the From Software Souls games. They literally had a cash cow that they didn't see the value of. Like, I feel like there's no other way besides they're just, what was it, just embarrassed that they dropped the ball on that one that hard.
I think this is just spite at this point. It's just that spite that basically. I think that's just spiteful because the whole From Software. Because I think more people are talking. I don't know if it's just because it's in my circles, but more people are talking about wanting Bloodborne on PC than any other game on PC. I don't remember people clamoring for Ghost of Tsushima on PC. Do you?
Nope.
Oh, I was.
I mean,
But I
there's a
didn't
few people
expect
that were, but it wasn't the same uproar as Bloodborne.
Oh yes, totally.
I mean, like that. That basically, I don't remember. And God of War 2018 didn't get that uproar for a PC port, did it? I think more people.
I think it did. It just
sort of
wasn't.
did.
I think people were complaining that it was on an Xbox. That some people wanted an Xbox to play it.
Yes.
Oh, Spider-Man? That one actually I heard a lot of uproar, but it was mostly saying, we want Spider-Man on Xbox now.
Uh-huh.
Came to PC, if there's any positives to that. But still, the fact that they still haven't realized that if they bring Bloodborne to the computer, I will buy it. Buy it for my computer.
I will buy Bloodborne all over again.
Maybe they're just afraid they'll have to do 60 FPS.
At least be playable. Look, Bloodborne One Piece on PS4 looked good, and it had a few stuttering problems. But if they had it on PC, it would basically be fixing half of those problems.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe I'm just wishful thinking and bitter, and I'm getting tired. I don't know why. I think maybe it's just those pure Sony fanboys just annoyed with us Souls fans because they got L after L for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Fanboys will be fanboys.
First, and I'm gonna get crucified for this, but I don't care. So, for example, it was like Horizon Forbidden West was forgotten. That's why I called it Forgotten West when Elden Ring came out. Nobody was talking about it. When it was 28, when it was basically a head-to-head battle between Elden Ring and God of War, because those two were literally trying to think that this would be the Elden Ring killer. Now, don't get me wrong, the Elden Ring Ragnarok was a fine-looking game, but it had one small problem. It was too story-heavy.
It would focus more on story than gameplay.
Yes, and I think that's why Elden Ring was, in my opinion, still a better game. It wasn't so... Plus, the combat was kind of generic, if you think about it, in God of War.
They didn't remix the combat more than... Because, if you were to compare it to how it was in 2018, they didn't change too much. It's a solid combat engine, don't get me wrong, but the additions weren't really crazy. Okay, for example, think about it. Elden Ring and Souls games, right? The combat changes between this game and Dark Souls 3. There's a few, actually. Weapons have longer movesets than just, the basics that you see in, Dark Souls 3. Customizable weapon arts. A freaking horse. Or torrent. All the even though they're small combat changes, they change it in such a significant way that compared to Dark Souls 3, for example. But God of War Ragnarok versus 2018, what they do? Add a spear. I mean, it
really didn't change much on that front. And while the story is good, it was just basically, how would I say it? not. It was a. I wouldn't say it was an unnecessary sequel. It's more like the lines of a sequel that just didn't do much. Yes, it wrapped up the story of Kratos and his son nicely, but at the end of the day, what now? At the end of the day, what's else going to happen? Egypt? Sure, that's cool.
Well, how's that going to progress the story? Also, I'm going to say this, but I feel like Ragnarok was rushed because I feel like they could have expanded that in the second game where they sort of go into more of the Giants lore and have like different like things happen because I feel like they rushed to the end of just destroying Odin and all that.
I swear, I remember a while back when I was still the hot debate. I remember there was a video of someone say that that Ragnarok had better combat, and he showed himself keep getting hit, despite saying that he could not find openings to hit, despite the fact that I could find 3 openings he could have done to do some damage. 3. Those ones I saw.
Well, that's because some people are just what's the word? They'd rather blame the game than themselves in that case,
Or be completely dishonest about the situation. That was another thing.
or they cherry pick and it's like, look at this. Look how fun and smooth this combat is. Picks the most what was it? The most well put together boss or enemy, and then they pick the worst thing in Elden Ring. Yeah, look how bad the combat is. Like what's it called? Cherry picking is the term. Like, don't get me wrong. Some of Ragnarok and God of War 18 is like, for example, I think the Valkyrie fights in God of War 2018 are some of the most best designed boss fights.
They actually had a
Just
challenge.
in general. Because they're challenging, and it requires you to know the timing and, like, the patterns. Like, yeah, it's a lot of pattern recognition, and once you know where to move, because, like, for example, you can beat the Valkyries. Like, once you know all the blind spots of their attacks, you can literally duck and weave through all their attacks, just beat them with bare fists.
It took me a while.
Crazy.
It took me a while to get it, but it felt like challenging because I said one time. It felt like I was actually having a fun challenge because it didn't feel like I was just slogging through it. Like
Agreed.
I'm going to basically say I'm going to not wait till I basically knock this girl's light out. Not
And that's the thing,
condoning
though.
anything.
Even with Sigrun, like the hardest Valkyrie, who was like had all the moves, like it just tested whether or not you had all the moves down pat. Because if you could beat Sigrun, you could beat all. Well, I mean, you have to beat all the other ones, but I never really got upset, even if I died. It's always a learning experience, and
I
it's
did
just
get frustrated, but that basically just motivated me to keep going.
doing it right. And also, can we just say that the Valkyrie soundtrack in God of War is? Whew,
It's
I
okay.
would say the soundtrack in God of War is pretty good at times, but also is kind of
Generic.
not as. Yeah, it's also a little bit generic as well, except for the main theme. The main theme is much better.
Yeah. And then,
yeah, I'll say the main. I was going to say, I'm only referring. See, I again, back to cherry picking. I'm cherry picking the best parts that I enjoyed about 2018. And if I were to compare the best parts to like the worst part of the Souls game, yeah, 2018 might look like an absolute was it knocking the ball out of the park. But all the times we got to refight the same troll dude with the hammer. Like, come on, guys.
And people complain that Elden Ring reused bosses a lot.
Come on, guys. We fought, like, if you're going to complain about the Erdtree avatars, can we not, are we not allowed to complain about the troll dude with the hammer, like, 12 times, too?
Yeah, exactly. Now, I would love to continue this, but I sadly would like to go ahead and continue this another time.
Of course. Of course. That's fine with me. I would just wanted to basically just see how it's going. Thank you so much for at least popping on, guys. It was nice talking with you all again.
Yep. Take care.
You too. Everybody, thank you for joining me. And as I always say, no outro this time. Let the good blood guide your way.
And fear the old blood.
Thank you, everybody. See you next time.